10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Here is Daniel Smith.
What is going on, Jets Guru faithful? Appreciate all the support out there. We're just so excited to have you on each and every week. We get to do this and then just have like the best fans come on, and just so excited to go, talk Jets football. We're getting closer and closer. Adam Gase is getting further and further away from us. And I'm just really enjoying what we're doing here and what the Jets are doing. And, I'm glad, Christopher Johnson and company, that they started off the right way in allowing and empowering Joe Douglas. And then Joe Douglas making, to me, I think a big time statement because, he hired Saleh and everybody was expecting, again, probably an offensive guy, not a defensive guy. And when they hired Saleh, I thought that was smart because the reason being is, I think the Jets didn't want some offensive guru. They didn't want some offensive savior coach to come in. They wanted it to be I think a guy who is an X's and O's guy, but not someone that's coming with some kind of reputation from the offensive side of it. And I think it puts pressure, right? And I think when you hire a guy like Saleh, for him to come out right away and say, I'm not calling offensive plays, man. That's my offensive coordinator. That's why we have different jobs. You know what I'm saying? So, I'm super, super excited to have a real coordinator again on staff who's actually going to be calling the plays and developing the offense. And this is a guy that the coach – and here's the thing, right? You hire a head coach normally, and he brings in his guy, right? But a lot of times they bring in a guy that wasn't connected to them, that was connected to them years ago. This is someone who was working with Saleh the last few years together. And so they already have a familiar togetherness right now. It's not something that, they worked together 5 years ago in Dallas. It's not any of that. It's they just recently worked together. They're going to be bringing players over, trust me, from the 49ers. Expect at least 2 to 3 guys from the 49ers roster to be on the Jets roster. That's how they're pretty much going to do it. What's going on, Lorenz? What's going on, everyone? Thank you for your support. Appreciate you guys. If you could do me a favor, please share the show right now. It doesn't matter how you're watching the Jets. Some of you guys watch the Jets on YouTube. Some of you watch them on Facebook. It doesn't matter where you watch us. Please give us a share. We don't curse. We don't talk politics. But we need your support. We need to keep pushing. We need to keep sharing to get more viewers, more people, more support, so we can make this even bigger than what it is, because I have so many plans in this noggin right here, and I want to put them out there. But unfortunately, times are tough for everybody, right? So we need as much help as possible. We're not asking for donations. We're just asking for love. We're asking for shares. And also, please check us out on @GuruJets for Twitter and @JetsGuru on Instagram. So, Krista, again, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for joining us. I think one of the biggest discussions that we're seeing right now is the treatment of Marcus Maye. I think that everybody is really watching how the Jets are handling the situation because it's really important, because the Jets are starting to develop a little bit of a reputation of not taking care of their own. They're getting a little bit of a reputation for kind of smudging or bludgeoning, injury reports. And I think that type of mentality, when you're talking about not paying players and not taking care of them health-wise, I think that's not really a good version of themselves that they want to put out there to free agents, right?
Absolutely, especially since Marcus Maye's agent came forward on Twitter about speaking on the behalf of Marcus Maye, I believe, how he was upset that after Jamal Adams, they traded him away, how Marcus Maye stepped up and played all these positions. He was a team captain. He did all this for the Jets, and that there was no long-term deal. And I know a lot of people were getting on the agent for calling them out on Twitter, and I get it. It's not the most professional way to do it, but it's also a way to put pressure on the Jets, and it makes the Jets look bad. It makes them look dumb, because he did make some points that Marcus Maye has been one of our bright spots. How many times have we talked about in the show that Marcus Maye is one of the guys that we need to keep, and he's one of the bright spots on defense, and he did step up, especially when you lost a guy like Jamal Adams. He's been balling. I know a lot of people get on the guy for his injuries, but he's been making plays, and he's been one of our best players on the team. And I know a lot of people might come on and say, well, that's not saying much, but he's stepped up. And a lot of people like to get on the agent, but a lot of me is starting to think, what if it's Marcus Maye that starts to feel disrespected? Because I don't think his agent's just saying it out of thin air either. It's just, I think it's a thought that Marcus Maye has himself. Like, dude, why am I not getting paid? Like, I did all this for the organization. And Marcus Maye has even came forward and said he wants to stay a Jet. You can look through those interviews. I'm not just saying that to talk up my butt. He's actually has came up forward and said, I want to be on the Jets, but it's not in my hands. And Marcus Maye is the guy you want to keep and that you want to build around. I know he's only 28. That's something I have a concern as well. But you got to keep these players, especially when you're the Jets that lack talent on both sides of the football. Marcus Maye is a good dude. He plays hard. He steps up when he's needed, especially when Jamal Adams, when he got traded. He never complained, never was on Twitter opening his mouth. He's a quiet leader. He does everything he's expected to do. He's a guy that you want to keep long term. And for me, when an agent spoke out, it wasn't just the agent just using Twitter and being unprofessional. For me, I think Marcus Maye, he's projecting how Marcus Maye feels, and that's a really big concern in my opinion. And you touched the subject about the Jets, how they botched injury reports, and it's not a good look. And to me, I think the Jets need to get a deal with Marcus Maye sooner than later before it gets ugly.
Yeah, absolutely. And I totally disagree with you, George. Lorenz, I think it was Lorenz who said it. You got to be kidding me here. You want to see another year out of Maye to make sure that he's real? No, my friend. Marcus Maye has already shown you what he is as a player. Okay, you're talking about a guy who's been in the league since 2017. Okay, so he's extended the length of his contract. He's 28 years old. He's played all his years for the Jets. He's only missed 2 games, I believe, or something of 4 games or something like that. And for his entire career for the Jets. So what more do you need to see out of Marcus Maye? I mean, you look at his season last year as one of the best safeties in the league. After having all that pressure with Jamal Adams leaving, he steps up his play and plays the best center field that he's ever played. And you're talking about a defense that was gassed out because this offense was absolutely terrible. Okay, now you take it back to 2019. He played another very good season after there was a lot of doubters who doubted him in the 2018 season because he missed a few games for the first time in his career. You look back in 2017, he put up comparable numbers to what Jamal Adams put up, only Jamal was the one who was picked higher, first-round pick, big mouth, a lot of attention in New York. But Marcus was putting up stats that were just almost as equal to what Jamal Adams was doing. And we all know he was the better safety in coverage for sure. And so you're talking about a guy 3 out of the 4 years that he's played, he's put up good stats. And the 1 year where he didn't play a full season, he had an interception return, if I'm not mistaken, for like 104 yards or something like that. 100 yards. And then he had 34 tackles and something else. I got to look. There's one more stat in there that was important as far as knockdowns. So he's a guy that throughout the extent of his entire career as a New York Jet has proven that he is a starting safety, and he's proved to you over the last 2 years through his ascension that he could play at a very high level at being one of the best safeties in the league, and I don't see that changing. I think if you offer Marcus Maye at 28 years old, you offer him a 3-year contract, he ends his career essentially as a Jet. I mean, yeah, he might want to play till he's 33 or 34. That's up to him. But everyone's going to remember him if he spends the next 8 years, 9 years as a New York Jet, especially from the safety position. Guys who aren't in the league forever because they're always putting on big hits and they got a lot of miles on their legs. And so the talent level drops off very quickly when you start getting to that age. But nobody deserves it more than Marcus. This is a guy who's put in all the work. He's done all the right things. He said absolutely nothing, despite what his agent had to say. I believe that Marcus deserves a contract. And remember, just because you franchise him doesn't mean you can't sign him to a big deal that could still get done by the summertime. I think Joe Douglas, if he's being smart here, takes care of Marcus and he sets a tone for the rest of the guys in the locker room that if you come in every day prepared and you do the right thing, that you will get rewarded to be a New York Jet. I think it's very, very important for the Jets to sign Marcus Maye and get this locked away and done. So let's see what we got here. We got Jamal left and next man up worked good for Maye. Yeah, Guy, I mean, it did. It worked out good for Maye, and I think Maye was relishing that. Yep. Jamal cast such a big figure in front of Marcus because, fact of the matter is he was drafted very high. He has a very boisterous personality that's a little bit different than Marcus. Marcus is more boisterous on the field with his play. He's more of a focused, determined player. Not to say that Jamal is not either. It's just as far as his personality is concerned. But he's all business at 6 foot. He could really go get it. He could put hits on people. He could come up and tackle. He could get the quarterback if used properly. Not like Jamal Adams, but he can. He plays a better center field. He has a good hand-eye recognition at the ball, goes up and gets it. You saw that he has the ability to make big plays. There was his 2 interceptions this year. One of them was just absolutely outstanding. Marcus is a really, really good player, and he has a really good chance at being very, very important to this Jets team as they get better because his responsibilities will be less and less as this Jets defense gets better too. And the more that he learns Saleh's defense, here's the thing. What these players lose in physical ability as they get older, they gain in smarts. You don't have to go as fast all the time to get where you need to go when you know how to get there. And so I believe that Marcus is a smart enough player that if Saleh is able to bring his defense over, bring a couple guys from the 49ers to kind of spread and point things out, I think before long you'll see Marcus being a leader within this defense with his play. And I'm telling you, this will be a very, very, very good season for Marcus Maye. I promise you, if he's healthy, Marcus Maye is going to have another all Pro Bowl type season, one of the best safeties in the league type of season. I really, truly believe that. 29 years old, he's ready to go, pay the man. It's time for it. But Krista, another conversation that I really wanted to talk about, I think that is super important, is the tight end situation that's going on for the New York Jets. Because the reason why I think it's important to discuss is because there's a lot of chatter about the Jets taking Kyle Pitts, even at number 2. I've heard it even at number 2. You take Kyle Pitts. He's the best wide receiver in this class. Dude, he plays tight end. You drafted a tight end. If you're not going to line him up outside, he's a tight end. Correct? Correct, right? The Jets have bigger holes in tight end right now, okay? And here's the thing also about Pitts. How much better is Pitts than Jonnu Smith from Tennessee? How much better is Pitts than Hunter Henry if healthy, right? Because we've never seen this guy actually play in the pros yet. So when you need a quarterback, when you need an outside receiver, when you still need offensive lineman help, when you still need a pass rusher, is taking a tight end at number 2. Can we get value at other positions within free agency or later in the draft that can help this position group without overextending yourself and getting a tight end? Now, I have no doubt that this kid is going to be very, very good for somebody, but I just don't think the Jets are in position. Just like Penei Sewell, I think he's an excellent tackle. I don't think the Jets are in position to take another left tackle and then taking that talent and putting it on the right side and wasting it. And you already see things of what's going on with Orlando Brown and the Ravens. And he's like, no, I want to play the left side. I tried to tell people and they didn't listen to me. They said, oh, well, it doesn't even really matter. They know how good these guys are. No, if you are a left tackle and they put you at right tackle, it will cost you money because you are now a right tackle who hasn't played left tackle for the last 3 or 4 years. You're not going to get the same left tackle money. Okay, you're going to have someone give you an opportunity to earn your spot back. So these guys don't want it. He's one of the best left tackles in the game, okay, in college. And Becton is one of the best young tackles in the game in the NFL. You have no business taking those guys and pushing them to the right side when they just both played very well the last time they both played football. There's no need for it when, again, you still need a quarterback. You still need an outside receiver. You still need what the true problem is on the offensive line, which is up the middle. So I ask you, Krista, do you think the Jets should draft Kyle Pitts even at 8? Even if the Jets trade down and they go to 8, do you think that the Jets should select Kyle Pitts, or they should go free agency or stay home with who they have?
For me, I don't want to 100% give up on Chris Herndon yet either with this offense. I know a lot of people were writing him off, myself included, but I'm actually really intrigued how he does under a LaFleur type offense, especially since reportedly we're probably going to get rid of Ryan Griffin. We're going to need Chris Herndon. I'm not sure about the tight ends, but I am actually a huge fan of Hunter Henry. I know he's kind of has the injury bug, but I would like to explore the tight end market. We have a lot of money to play with. I prefer to get a Hunter Henry or the guy from the Tennessee Titans. I think either or would be a good addition, but I'm not counting out Kyle Pitts either, because if you see a dynamic tight end, I haven't seen a tight end this good in a while. Kyle Pitts is a guy that can make plays. He's able to catch the ball. The ball somehow always sticks to his hands, but also depends what a LaFleur type offense is. Are you going to use tight ends a lot? Because if you're going to draft a tight end that high, I want to be making sure that that's the guy I'm going to be using a lot often, because the Jets have a history of not really using their tight ends that often. That's why I'm kind of in the camp of getting a guy like Hunter Henry, and then if possible trading back and getting a number one receiver and building it that way, because everyone knows how I feel about the wide receiver free agent class. Not to go off topic a little bit, how Allen Robinson got tagged, Godwin got tagged, and I'm not the biggest fan of going after getting a guy like Juju Smith-Schuster. I know a lot of people may disagree with me there, but my thing is, since there's pretty good tight ends to be had, to go that route and possibly move back and get a wide receiver and build a team that way. But Kyle Pitts is intriguing if you want a Travis Kelsey type offense. Like, have a guy, like if you look at the Chiefs, how a guy like Travis Kelsey transforms that offense. He's able to do so much for that offense. But I just don't think at the Jets we're there yet. We have so many holes, and taking a guy like Kyle Pitts just seems like a luxury. And I think the guy's going to be amazing wherever team he goes to. He's going to be a beast. I have no doubt about it. That guy is great. He's a touchdown maker. He's everything you want in a tight end. He's just a big physical specimen. I wish I could say that we go get Kyle Pitts, but I really want a number one receiver for a quarterback, especially since if we do draft Wilson, if we can get that number one receiver, because the free agent wide receiving market, as much as I once had hope, I kind of lost hope in that aspect. So that's why I would rather go with Hunter Henry, pair him up with the Chris Herndon, or get the tight end from the Titans, pair him up with Chris Herndon, and work that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, here's another thing. Somebody said in the comments, I think it was Shane, Pitts could be our George Kittle. That's absolutely fantastic. I would love for Pitts to be our George Kittle. Was George Kittle drafted number 2? Was he drafted number 8? I don't think so. Was Travis Kelsey drafted number 2? Or was he drafted number 8? So that's what I'm saying is that, these guys are awesome tight ends, but they were found in positions that make them awesome tight ends. Yeah. If you draft a tight end at number 2, he better be leading the league in receiving. I'm just saying that is a big time step for a tight end. And especially if that tight end is not exactly going to be your main threat. And here's another thing about Travis Kelsey. What makes Travis Kelsey so good? Everyone goes, oh, it's Travis Kelsey makes Mahomes so good and this and that. Are you kidding me? What makes Travis Kelsey really good is the fact that, 1, Patrick Mahomes is there, and 2, you have a guy on the outside in Tyreek Hill who could take the top off of defense. So you're going to have a lot of one-on-one matchups with backers with not a lot of backup when you have to trace a guy like Tyreek Hill over the field, which is going to exploit some exploit some matchups underneath. You look at Kelsey's stats before Mahomes got there, and they were really, really good. But were they best in the league, the best tight end hands down? Absolutely not. But now when you look at Kelsey's numbers, there's only one other guy right now that could really even touch him. And that's because Mahomes is giving him that extra 400 plus yards a season that he needs to take himself into the next level. Tyreek Hill is opening up the field enough that he could do that. What happened to the Chiefs offense in the Super Bowl when Bowles shut down Tyreek Hill? What happened? Was Travis Kelsey the most dominating force on the field? No, because when you take away a guy like Tyreek Hill, you could focus in on a guy like Kelsey. You could use your safety more. You could do different things, especially because they didn't run the football, which to me was the biggest thing. They gave up on not running the football. But what I'm saying to you is to use such a big time asset on a tight end when you look at the best tight ends in the game, they're usually not taken that high. Ramon, what say you? Do you think Kyle Pitts is the guy at 2 or 8 if we were to trade down around that area, or do you still think that we should get a tight end?
I'm gonna tell you a pre Joe Douglas. I think we're drafting a Kyle Pitts or we're making a horrible decision like that. And that's not to say he's a bad dude, but we got too many holes on this team, man. And we gotta work in a free agency. I feel like anything we can get in free agency that's good, you go for it, man, and you get it there, because that way that leaves us a little bit of breathing room in the draft to figure out if we want to trade down. If we want to, pick guys up in the draft or however we want to do that. But I'm going to say bring in Hunter Henry, man. I'm really a fan of Hunter Henry. Almost 500 yards a year, minimum for that guy. And as far as Chris Herndon goes, if we can give up on Sam Darnold, we can give up on Chris Herndon. Like, I don't care. I don't care, man. I don't care. I feel like they're in the same boat. Sam had a point in time last year where we were like, oh man, this dude's, a second half of the year. Next year is going to be it, And then I feel like Herndon, before his suspension and injury, we thought the same thing. We're like, oh, this is our dude. Like, young guy. I think he had been in the league like a year or two at that time. And we're like, oh, he's great. One-handed catches, in the red zone. We're like, oh, this is our guy. And then he just falls off a cliff. And now we're kind of holding on to the as Dan likes to say, we're holding on to the Cowboys game with Herndon. You know what I'm saying? Like the same way we do with Sam Darnold. But I think it's time to move on from him. So I don't want to draft a tight end with that pick. I think Joe Douglas, I'd rather just trade down, to be completely honest, and not even at 8, man. Because you can get a quality tight end. You can make it work with anybody, at this point, almost anybody, as we know. But yeah, I say bring in Hunter Henry. Jonnu Smith, I like him too, but I say bring in Hunter Henry. That's my number one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I with Hunter Henry, it feels like he's about 185 years old. I mean, honestly, I felt like Hunter Henry was playing when Tony Gonzalez was playing. I just feel like he's been around forever. It's just he's always hurt all the time, and Hunter Henry always gets hurt when he's playing well. It's like all of a sudden he's playing really good, and boom, he gets hurt. He is really talented. He's a security blanket, I think, for any quarterback, and I would love to have him. But I just think that this offense is going to be too important to this Jets team, where I'm not sure if they're going to be able to get a Najee Harris with the 23 pick or another running back. Now, listen, what's really intriguing here, right? Because somebody mentioned running backs in here before, and you guys could scroll back to other Jets Guru episodes. We broke down each position, but the Packers didn't tag Aaron Jones. So that's an interesting situation there. So if the Jets have some money, they repair that offensive line. Maybe the best way to take some pressure off that quarterback is to get an Aaron Jones who, if he's healthy, he's guaranteed to get you over 1,000 yards, and he could set up some things for you. So that's another thing to watch on that side of it. But to me, I think you definitely do not draft a tight end that high. I agree with the rest of you guys. I think that's just an absolute mistake. Someone's going to get a wonderful player, and there's wonderful players up and down the draft at different positions. It doesn't mean that you need to have them all, right? And you can't have everything in life, right? Some things you can pick and choose. Other things you have no control of whatsoever. And this is one of those scenarios where if you're smart, you let the chips play out. It's not time for a tight end. You have $80 million in cap space, maybe more, depending on how they go with the rest of the cuts. They have $80 million in cap space. You could find a tight end for a reasonable price that's not going to break the bank. That could be a contributor. You still have Chris Herndon, and I am in agreement with Ramon. If you can give up on Sam Darnold, you can give up on Chris Herndon, but that doesn't mean you have to, because you don't have to pay Chris Herndon $25 million. So that's a big thing. So we don't have to worry about paying Herndon all that type of money. And so, yeah, you could work with him. You know, I'm not saying that he needs to be your starter, but you could work with him. And if you're running a type of team where you got a 2 tight end set, you can let Herndon be a reclamation project coming in on those second set type of plays and bring someone else in. Now, when you look at Sports Track and you look at some of these contracts that these tight ends are making, you got Gronkowski, he's a free agent. You know where he's going. He's going right back to the Bucs. You got Hunter. And you know what, man? You got to look at Gronk, and you really got to give this guy some credit. He didn't play football for 2 years.
Yeah.
Comes back on a loaded offense, okay, with tons of weapons. He still snagged 600 yards and 7 touchdowns. You know what I mean? And he still was a big-time player in the Super Bowl. You got to give that guy some credit, man. You really, really do. Only 32. He's another guy that feels like he's about 225 years old. Then all of a sudden you have another guy that kind of crept up out of nowhere. Now I'm going to put his name out here, and I think it's more of, to me, in my personal opinion, I think this guy is more of an Aaron Rodgers project. But you got Robert Tonyan, right? 27 years old, 586 yards, 11 touchdowns. But to me, I think you look at him more of like an Aaron Rodgers project. He's always going to find an open receiver. Tonyan happened to be an exception, but you never know, right? You have Jared Cook. You have the old man, right, 34 years old. Then you got Jonnu Smith. Now, Jonnu Smith is interesting, right? Because Jonnu Smith played a lot of snaps. He played 745 snaps, would be the third most out of any tight end in the NFL, okay? 41 receptions for 448 yards. The other guys that have the same amount of snaps as Jonnu, they have 600 yards each. They have 60 receptions, stuff like that. What that shows me is one of two things. Either he wasn't featured in the offense or he just wasn't getting where he needed to be. Well, I think he just wasn't as featured. They had some other weapons. It's a running football team based off of a bruising running back that's on one of the best roles you ever see in probably NFL history. And I think you could get a lot more out of Jonnu Smith. And I think you look at the year before, right? Don't look at last year, okay? Because I think they used Henry even more last year. You look at his stats the year before, 44 targets, 35 receptions. That's pretty efficient. The year before, 30 targets, 20 receptions. That's an efficient tight end, okay? He's a guy that gets the football. He just does what he needs to do. Nothing flashy. He's not going to kill you with exciting plays down the field, but he gets the job done. He's a solid tight end. I think he needs to be featured more. And if I was him and I was smart, I would be asking these teams as I go in, like, hey, I really wasn't featured in Tennessee, and I really want to be a featured player. This is probably the last real contract I'm going to have. I like to be in an offense. So if the Jets reciprocate, I think that would be a very, very good move for the Jets. Here's another sleeper pick too. I'd like to talk about as well from the tight end position that I don't think anyone's talked about, and that's Gerald Everett from the Rams, 27 years old. The reason why I say that is Gerald Everett had to split snaps at the tight end position for a lot, and he still found ways to shine out. You're talking about a guy that didn't have a lot of production. You're talking about 1 touchdown. He had 417 yards. He had 41 receptions, but he was playing with Jared Goff, which I think is like Superman Sam Darnold, in my opinion, right? So you have Jared Goff out there, right? And you have, again, another offense with weapons all over the field from the receiving standpoint, and they like to spread the ball out there with the Rams. I think Gerald Everett on a size of like a nice deal could be a good tight end that could come in and do some things for you. And so when I look at this tight end market, you got to have a lot of experienced tight ends who are around the 25 to 32 years old area that you could steal a year or 2 or even 3 years out of on a nice contract, nothing crazy. And you don't have to throw yourself so far out there into the water and possibly reach for a Kyle Pitts when, again, you have so many holes out there: quarterback, middle of the offensive line, pass rusher, a ton of issues, cornerback. So there's things that you have to fix. Is Kyle Pitts better or more important than any of those positions? I'm not really sure right now. And yeah, maybe you miss out on a great tight end, an all-world tight end. But again, this team has to be built correctly or it's going to flop, okay? And the Jets need to get dynamic on the outside. They need to get that offensive line fixed, and they need to get a pass rusher to help these young cornerbacks if they're not able to bring a guy in. And so I don't know. I don't think the Jets should go that way. I don't think the Jets should trade down. Honestly, guys know my opinion on it. I think the Jets should draft a quarterback in that spot. But one of the other positions that we touched on, and you touched on a little bit, Krista, was the outside wide receiver position. And one of the guys who wasn't tagged, we mentioned Aaron Jones, running back from Green Bay. He wasn't tagged. Another guy who surprisingly wasn't tagged, and I think this guy is a sleeper wide receiver, like seriously, is Kenny Gallaudet. He's 27 years old, okay? When you look at him, you see production, okay? You see 1,000 yards on 70 receptions on 119 targets, okay? His catch rate almost 60%, right around there. You're talking about a guy with 5 touchdowns. The year before that, he had 1,100 yards, 11 touchdowns. This is a guy that he only played 11 games last year. Matthew Stafford was banged the hell up with his back and everything. So the Lions didn't really even have a quarterback to really throw and feature him as much. And they had other weapons they spread around as well. To me, Galloday and being featured as the number one on a roster, I think could easily have 1,200 yards. Easily have 1,200 yards if healthy. He's a go-get-it wide receiver. He's got an attitude on him that I like. I think he would fit in perfectly in Saleh's team, just his personality, how he is, how he goes and gets the football. He can run all bunch of different routes. I think him and Mims will work well together. You keep Crowder in the slot. I just think it would be a really good offense. And I look at this wide receiver class and I'm actually more excited about it from the free agency standpoint. I'm not sure what the Jets wind up doing. I don't know if they go out and get who they could get is a big thing. I don't know if they get Schuster. I don't know if they get any of these guys. I don't know if they get a guy through trade or something like that. But there's some guys to be had out there that we've gone over that I think would be really good fits with the New York Jets in different ways. And I think right here you got one that could be really big time. Again, you could look at Aaron Jones and you could say that might be a good fit for the New York Jets. And you could definitely as a productive number one out there. Now, listen, is he a Tyreek Hill? No. Is he a Julio Jones? No, he is not that guy, but he's like right below those guys, okay? And underneath that is when it really drops off. So I think bringing in a guy like Galloday gives you a legit wide receiving core with Mims and Crowder. If you have Galloday, Mims, and Crowder, if you're a good quarterback, you can roll with that group, like no doubt. And I think have a lot of success in New York. What say you, Ramon?
Yeah, I believe the same thing. I think him and Mims will work out hand in hand, but I do also think that we should still go into the draft thinking that we need a number one. I'm a fan of that. Like I said, I like to load up. You can never have too many number one wide receivers. That's the Tampa Bay Bucks. I will stick with that and live with that forever. So,
sure.
Especially with our injury history, we have horrible luck with those types of things. And I don't know if it's our field or whatever it is. Even the 49ers felt it, but yeah, I would say that Kenny Galloday works out well, and he was probably he was hurt, wasn't he? Didn't he get hurt?
Yeah, he was hurt.
Yeah, he was hurt. I guess that's all I really got on that.
What do you got, Krista?
Pretty much the same. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the free agent wide receiving class after my guy Chris Godwin got tagged, Allen Robinson got tagged, but it's definitely worth to look at, especially with our wide receiving group. We need more talent in that position. And I'm a big fan of, since we have a lot of cap space and the growing cap space that we currently have and having the most money, we have to look at every option, and improving the wide receiving is something we really need, especially since we don't know who our quarterback's going to be. So I'm all for Galloday. I mean, he's the best one available in the free agent market so far right now, and that's not to say who else may be cut. But yeah, I'm for looking up what Galloday would want if he was willing to come here. I think he'd be a solid number two. He'd be pretty good with Mims. I'm not 100% sure if he'd fit our offense, but it's definitely worth to explore Kenny Galloday because we need more talent at the wide receiving position. But I'm also for going to the draft and drafting a wide receiver because I think there's a lot of talent to be had at the wide receiving position in the draft, and we need a true number one wide receiver.
And I say watch out too, man, because Allen Robinson isn't happy, and I know that we're not going to spend any money on a guy that's tagged when he's going to be a free agent next year. But I would say just, if the Jets have a good season, we're not going to win a Super Bowl next year. But keep your eyes out. If the Jets show some signs of life with the receiving core. We get Kenny Galloday in. Those guys are happy. Maybe we can bring in Allen Robinson next year. You know what I mean? So there's tons of options for us.
It doesn't Curtis Samuels play? Did we talk about this with Curtis Samuels and Jamison Crowder? I mean, they play the same position and they have similar numbers. We're trying to get better as a football team. We're not trying to replace players to get similar production. That's not a trade up. If you get a guy who does the exact same thing as the other guy, he just happens to be a little younger and you pay him more money because now you're locked into a 3 or 4 year contract with this guy instead of a 1 year deal with Crowder, and then you can reassess the situation. I think you can always find a solid slot receiver. I don't think Curtis Samuels is the best slot receiver in the game. And so I don't have to rush to sign him to a contract when I have a guy with similar production is all I'm trying to say. When you look at a Kenny Gallaudet, he plays on the outside. I'd like to have him. Mm-hmm. Fuller isn't healthy, but he is a guy on the outside who could stretch it. Juju Smith-Schuster played a lot on the outside too. You got Marvin Jones from Detroit. He's 30. He's going to be a little cheaper than Gallaudet. He can go outside and get you some stuff as well. So there's a few guys in that 25 to 30 range that could play outside receiver for you outside the draft before I think you have to reach on a slot receiver when you already have a slot receiver. Again, we're trying to get better and add talent to the Jets, not replace it with similar talent. That doesn't get you better. I don't think Crowder has indicated that he's taking a step back as a player. He's putting up the same numbers. Now, Lowell, if he uses 2 slot receivers like he would use an outside receiver, well, then go ahead. If you're doing a bunch of crosses and ins and this is out and outs and quick outs and you're not really exploiting the outside, then yeah, you could go ahead and get a Curtis Samuels and then go ahead and roll like that. I have no issue with that. But yeah, you got your boy Berrios. Everybody, you got your boy Berrios. So if they'll probably use Crowder and Berrios, but what I'm saying is that's very offense predicated. So if you're telling me that's part of the offensive scheme, I could buy that. But if we're just bringing in Crowder just to replace him, I don't like that move, especially if you already have a guy who does the same thing over the last 2 years. And then, yeah, as Garen said, at that point, you might as well just draft a wide receiver. How about you draft a slot receiver and have him be your backup with Berrios and have these guys develop enough so when Crowder leaves next year, they could fight for the slot position in camp and you can have yourself a little battle right there between Berrios and the drafted receiver in the slot. And you don't have to waste premium money and you can actually add talent instead of replacing. And it's a win-win all around for the roster. And so that's all I'm saying. I think we have to remember, and I'm really hoping that Joe Douglas looks at this situation like I'm looking at it. And obviously, I'm going to say that, but I really do. I hope he really fixes this team based on the immediate needs that it really has. Because we could talk about all the different things that we want out of this football team, but we know, number one, that center guard position has to get fixed. I don't know how he's going to do it, but you have to move McGovern to guard. And if you're not going to move McGovern to guard and you're going to roll with him again, you need to make sure you have 2 solid guards. And please, I don't want to hear about Pat Eflin anymore. Like he's some kind of all-star. My man's PFF was in the dark orange. Okay. The dark orange. Okay. That's around the 40. The Jets running game looked so much better when he came in. They didn't even win a game. Of course he's going to look better. I mean, you got to be kidding me with this. If you got a chance to get Thuney or Sheriff or one of these types of guards, you go and get them. I don't want to hear nothing about Pat Efline when I've got $80 million and it's the number one thing that I need to get fixed on my roster to protect Sam Darnold or to protect Zach Wilson or to protect Deshaun Watson. You telling me again, he played better in the dark orange. Go look up his PFF in the dark orange, bro. So listen, I don't want to hear about it. If Pat Efline returns, I'm going to be happy with that because you know why? There's going to be a new center on the right of him, and there's going to have big man Becton on the other side, so I can live with that. But I'm just saying, if we got a chance to replace, if McGovern is staying center, I want 2 replacements at guard and let my boy Fant work for another year or so. If he's that bad, you can always get rid of him next year and replace him with a real right tackle, not a generational left tackle and put him at right tackle. Like that, it just makes no sense, right? So I'm hoping that the Jets fix that, right? And not reach. I don't want the Jets reaching. Like if you want to get, let's say, Jamar Chase, like, or a big time receiver at number 2, you're like, you know what? I want to go explosive young. I want to get a receiver. I'll go ahead and do it that way. Then again, I better see you get 2 strong guards. Boom. Offensive line fix. Boom. Jamar Chase, Sims, Crowder. Boom. Then what are we doing at 23? We could go and get a cornerback. I don't know who's going to drop there. I don't know if Asante is going to be that low, if he's going to get picked around 12 or 15 or something like that, or Samuel's whatever his son, Samuel Jr. whatever. They all got the same names now. This is what happens when you start getting old. You're like, wait, didn't I watch him play? It's like, oh, I was like 13 or something. Like, he's got kids. Like you get older, but yeah, you want to go ahead and get that over with, because cornerback is going to be a huge thing on defense. And so I want to get a pass rusher. We talked about it, 2 episodes ago? There's pass rushers that you can get. Dude, this is a good buying market. The Jets, it is so good that the Jets have this money, because there's teams that just can't afford it, and they're going to be cutting guys. The Ravens, the Steelers, they're going to be letting guys go.
The
Jets
Saints
coming there. Oh my gosh, the Saints are so bad, bro. Oh my gosh, the Saints are so bad. They're going to be so bad in the next 2 years if they don't get this together. They got a hit on everything that they got at a lower level, because they are like 40 million over the cap or something like that. It's ridiculous. So the Jets, I'm looking at, and here's the thing, guys, you got to remember the Jets have to spend at least 80% or more of that cap. So they're going to be spending money. And here's the thing. People could say that the Jets want new owners. I am a Mets fan, okay? I know what real bad ownership looks like, and it is 10 times worse than what the Johnsons have ever done. 10 times worse than what they've ever done. I'm telling you right now, the Wilpons were the worst ever. They couldn't spend money. They couldn't stop themselves from moseying on in. The Johnsons have tried. They've tried multiple times throwing money at situations. It's not like they're stingy. The Johnsons have never really been stingy in that way. They go out and spend money. The problem with the Johnsons is they often listen to the wrong people, and it winds up taking them in a wrong direction. That's why the Jets need a legit president of operations who is a respected guy who could kind of be the bridge. It shouldn't be that the GM and coach go to the same time to the owner. There has to be a bridge of some sort. There has to be a guy that has some kind of power that can look at Woody from a professional side too, and be like, hey man, you got to chill out, dude. But I don't think that they're that bad. I think this has been the people that they've gotten and the system that they run. It's not done on purpose. Like you see some owners are just stingy and they're just kind of, you could tell they just don't care. I think the Johnsons really do care about the Jets. When you look at them and you see them speak about the Jets, I think they do care about the Jets, and so, and people talk about some of these, if we had the same owner I know, dude, it's so crazy because Leon Hess owned the Jets too. And so it's like, you got to remember, listen, since the Johnsons have owned the Jets, right? I've got to see them play in 3 AFC championship games. I've seen them get to play in a bunch of playoff games. They've had their shots. Okay. When you play in AFC championship games, okay, you're 1 game away from the Super Bowl. All right. I've seen the Jets play 3 of them in my lifetime. So let's say you're a competent fan. You're not competent till, let's say, like you're 7 or 8 years old, where you really start picking stuff up, right? Since then, I've seen the Jets play in 3 AFC championship games. You see some teams that have never even been there. Or you know what I'm saying? Like, look at the Lions. They haven't even won a playoff game ever. I mean, what is it, 1? Maybe, I don't even know. I think you got to go back to when it was just the NFC. It was just the old school football days where Joe Willie was playing in the AFL throwing touchdowns. Maybe the Lions were good then. I don't know. But there's franchises who've never been to that point. The Jets have opportunities. Imagine if Vinny and the Jets make it to the Super Bowl. Imagine if one of those Rex Ryan teams make it to the Super Bowl, how differently the Jets organization is looked at, even in this losing season. The problem is the Jets have always lost in that game, but you got to look at the path and look how they got there. And they had good teams. And you're 1 game away from the Super Bowl. And for the last 15 or 16 years, you played with Tom Brady. That's not too bad. Okay. So the Jets have squandered their opportunities and fell short where other teams have taken the next step and moved forward. And so I think now with the Jets not making the playoffs over the last 10, they are in a complete rebuild scenario here. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I don't want to see any more repairs with the quarterback. I just, you know what? Sam Darnold didn't work out. Time to get a new one. You know that, because I know it, and this is what's going to happen. It's going to piss us all off. And I promise you, it's going to piss all you guys off too, is the Jets are going to get good on defense by year 2 or 3, and we're not going to have a quarterback, and we're going to be searching and trying to do this and trading this to get this veteran to come in, and it's not going to work. You need your guy. Unless you could promise me Tom Brady's coming and we're able to get Godwin and Brown and Gronkowski and all these other guys and pieces, if we're not going to have that, it's time to start over. You're not going to have $80 million in cap space for a while. You're not going to have the number 2 pick for a while, okay? Because I don't think the Jets are going to be this bad next year, and it's going to push you out. The quarterback class next year is weaker, and you're going to push yourself out of being in the top spot. So you know all the capital that you just traded for and that you're trying to get, guess what? You're going to have to give it up to go get a quarterback next year when you could have just got your quarterback at number 2 because you already had the pick the previous year. Could you not see the writing on the wall? Could you not see that happening? The Jets winning 5 games, 6 games next year, 7 games maybe even next year, pushing themselves out of a quarterback race when they really know they might need one, and then having to trade the Seattle pick anyways to move up when we could have got Deshaun Watson with that pick, or you could have took Zach Wilson. You see this idiocy creeping up behind us? That's the type of stuff that happens with the New York Jets because fans want to hold on to people. Oh, Sam Darnold, I love him. He's done nothing, but some reason I love him. This player, that player. Listen, we got to keep it moving, okay? Number 2 pick, $80 million, a quarterback draft where there's a few guys that are considered they're going to be all right. The writing is on the wall. Your quarterback has struggled the last 3 years. New coach, new offensive coordinator, right?
You know what confuses me? Like when Trevor Lawrence was on the board, everybody was on board for it. Everyone was on board to get Trevor Lawrence, right?
Everyone.
And then Sam wins a few games, right? And now we slip to number 2. And now nobody, like now there's a bunch of people that don't want to get rid of Sam, but where would Sam be in this draft? You know what I mean? Like he would not be top 3. I can tell you that much.
No.
Not with all those picks. So I'm sorry. I just had to say that.
Here's the thing too. Those people who were all on board for Lawrence who were there, they weren't on board. Those were the same people who are saying, well, I just want us to win a game. I don't watch these games. And you're just like, come on, man. Like any other year, I'm okay with it, right? I was expecting the Jets to win 1 game when McCown was there, and they didn't. They won more games. I was happy, right? But I didn't want the Jets to push themselves out of the running to have the option. That's what I was trying to tell people. You don't even necessarily have to pick Trevor Lawrence if you're still in love with Sam Darnold. But just to have the option to have Trevor Lawrence, to say, I have this guy. You want him? Come get him. Give me everything you got. Give me the whole house. I want everything that you got in this entire house and then some. But now you don't have that. The only good thing for the Jets is that as time has developed throughout the course of this year and the course of this offseason, the New York Jets you have come to find out that more teams need quarterbacks than you thought. And so all these other teams are starting to jockey now. And by the time it gets to the draft and you see all these players work out, there's going to be a couple of teams that are going to be calling the Jets and seriously saying, hey, man, come on, man. Like, are you keeping Sam or what? Because I'm trying to get a quarterback and you're taking too long. You know what I'm saying? And so, listen, is Sam Darnold there's nothing I need to sit and be like, oh my gosh, like we got to sit here for months and months and months and find all the little nooks and crannies. It is what it is. Man. His game tape is what his game tape is. You could say, yeah, in my offense, Sam Darnold's going to look better because this clown that was here coaching him wasn't giving him the right plays. So obviously Sam Darnold's going to look better next year. There's no question about it. I think you're going to see a Sam Darnold that looks more of the guy that you saw that was kind of ascending a little bit. I think that you're going to see that Sam Darnold next year. The problem is we thought that Sam could maybe be Brett Favre at the end of his at the top of his ceiling. A guy who takes a little too many chances but it's going to have a 3-to-1 TD ratio or a 4-to-2 TD ratio. That's not what we're seeing from this kid. What we're seeing is that he doesn't have the elite arm talent like Brett had. What we're seeing is he doesn't have the elite talent-making, play-making ability. Brett Favre had the ability to make certain throws in positions that you were just like, wow. Sam, he'll turn around, make a little play, fake you out, but it's not consistent enough. He reads the defense too often, just one read and lets it go. There's nothing spectacular about his game. So you're like, what is the ceiling on this kid? 23 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. Could we make him work here? Could we get a running game? Could we get a defense? So then you start looking at the quarterbacks on the board in the draft, and you start going, does that guy have the special talent? If we were in a playoff game and Zach Wilson was playing against Sam Darnold, and could he go out there and beat Sam Darnold with his playmaking ability and take his team back and lead it? Or is Sam going to be the guy that does it? And when you sit there and you look at it, I think that's where your decision is. It's not where Sam Darnold's going to be good. I truly believe if Sam Darnold is the quarterback in the New York Jets next year, he will be a good quarterback. I honestly believe that. I think he will be good. Now, what is good? Good is not a guy that's costing your team over and over. That good is a plus TD to interception ratio. I think Sam can have that. But again, what is going to be the ceiling of that guy? How many wins could he go out and take for you? What if your defense isn't ready in the first year? Can he get you back from a 17-point deficit like we've seen from Deshaun Watsons and Mahomes of the world? Guys like that who could put up points very quickly because of their arm talent and their skill level. Can he do that? Can you coach that up? I'm not seeing that I can. And so when
the game is close and it's fourth quarter and it's about 2 to 3 minutes left, and we have the ball and Sam Darnold drops back, if you say you aren't nervous, if you tell me you aren't nervous before Sam lets that ball go and you're looking at him go through his reads, you are lying. You are lying. I love Sam Darnold, but I am nervous anytime we're in that situation.
Yeah.
Anytime.
Yeah.
I get nervous because I'm like, oh, man, he's going to throw a pick.
Yep.
And then you have your receivers coming out and saying, hey, man, like I thought Joe Flacco threw a good football. Me and him just kind of clicked. We're like, dude, like, we're not supposed to be clicking with Joe Flacco. Like, that's beautiful and all. But, I mean, could you say anything nice about your quarterback? Oh, yeah, Sam good. He throw the ball. You're like, oh, my God. Like, obviously he's your teammate. You're probably cool with him. But you're probably looking at Joe. You're like, yo, Joe throws a better football. You know what I'm saying? He would – listen, we're adults here, okay? We're adults here. And many of us played football, and I've played football with really good athletes outside of high school, college, and all that. Just really good athletes, right? We played with some young guys who are on their way. We played with some guys who played college ball on their way out, and we were playing. And you know it because guys just chop it up. And if we're chopping it up on some kind of lower school level here, we know they're chopping it up on the big level. You know who the players are in your leagues. You know who the all-stars are. You know who the best teams are. And when you're playing, you're like, oh, Joe he just plays a little better. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, you know what I mean? That's why he's out there more. Listen, I ran a team before, and it was so interesting, right, to watch these guys. I'm messing my damn hat up. It's all over the place, right? So I'm sitting here, and I'm putting this team together. You got a bunch of crybabies, bro. They're crying all the time. I don't touch the ball. I got to work on the weekends. I come out here. Y'all don't feature me and this and that. Like, real crybabies, like, people who think they're playing in the NFL and we're playing in rec leagues and stuff, right? And it's crazy, but the mindset of how people are, you could hear it in their mouth. And like when they asked him, he was just like, oh yeah, me and Joe click, and then like when they asked him about Sam, he's like, oh, like it's just like I heard all those guys out there and they watching Sam throw in practice, and they just kind of like, like just kind of like, we'll see, he looked good in practice, but we get in the game and then like I'm wide open and then like and that's so frustrating. And everybody said no, it wasn't Sam Darnold, it was Robbie Anderson, it was all these different guys, and you would see Robbie right wide open, Blaze turn around, nothing's happening with the play, and then the play's over and you're just like, dude, he's open, I promise you he's open. But that's not how Sam operates, but I know for a fact that he will play better in this offense because they will actually tailor the offense around how he plays. Now, that may not be the best quarterback for their offense. They might have a better guy who can kind of take it to the next level. But I do believe Sam could be very good in this offense for what they need to be done. Now, overall, I think he's a top 20 quarterback, okay? I think Sam Darnold's a top 20 quarterback. And I mean, I know that's not saying much, right? And it's not, but I think if we could get him from off the bottom of the bear, we got to get him off the bottom. If
he's better than 33rd.
Yeah, if he's staying with this roster, we got to put the team together in such a fashion where we got to get him off the bottom. Because if he's playing like how he played last year, we're in really bad shape. So I do believe that he'll play better. I think we'll have a better team, better weapons, better scheme. He'll do a lot better. I say all this because I want the Jets. I'm tired of watching the Jets be a grind out team, right? Oh, we could run the ball. We could play good defense. And then you have average quarterback play and you're kind of slugging along and you're hoping that you can eke it out. But I've watched too much football now, right? I'm a smart dude and I adapt. And when I see things, I see how they are. And I see it time and time again. It doesn't matter if the game has changed and it's more of a passing game and this and that. There's two things that always stand up, okay? In the regular season, right, if you have a quarterback, you win games, okay? If you have a real deal quarterback, you win games. In the playoffs, if you have a lights out defense, you also win games because we see that, right? That's where the defense and the offense comes together. I have never seen the Jets be dominant at anything except for when Rex Ryan was here and they first year and they had that defense. And when I saw that, I said, wow, that's crazy because I've never seen such a dominant unit. And we were the best in the league by far. Okay, in my opinion, we were the best in the league. And we were so good because we had Mark Sanchez who was struggling. He was growing, right? And so everybody knew we were just going to run the ball, right? And it didn't matter. We just ran over everybody. Okay, we just ran over everybody. Didn't matter who it was, right? But I looked at that defensive team and I go, wow, I've never seen my offense be like that. I've never seen go into a game and just be so confident, dude, we're about to shut this team down. Randy Moss, who? Ocho Cinco, who? Calvin Johnson, who? Should I keep going? Because I can keep going because Revis shut them all down. Name them. Andre Johnson, done. All done. T.Y. Hilton, not T.Y. Hilton. There was one more guy in there too. Done. They were all done that season. I've never seen the Jets offense be like that. I've never seen the Jets be Patrick Mahomes, Chiefs offense good. I want to see that. And you're never going to see it with Sam Darnold. I don't care how many people they get. You can get Julio Jones. You can get Aaron Jones. You can get all the Jones. Get every single Jones you can round up and put them on the Jets. They will never be that good because Sam Darnold is not that good. And so for once, I want the Jets to have a dominant cornerback. Aaron Rodgers. I want one of these guys on the Jets. Mm-hmm. I'm tired of top 15, top 20. Ryan Fitzpatrick. Wow, okay. He broke the single season record for Jets touchdowns. Congratulations. Who cares? He didn't get you to the playoffs. It doesn't matter. I want an elite quarterback. No more Vinny Testaverde. God rest his soul. Oh, he's not dead, but you know what I mean? I'm okay with that. But Vinny, come on, man. Brett Favre, Chad Pennington, old Brett Favre, Chad Pennington, Glenn Foley, Neil O'Donnell, Sanchez, Geno Smith, Bryce Petty. I mean, just all of these guys.
Christian Hackenberg,
all of them. I don't want any more of it. I want Deshaun Watson. I want Joe Burrows and Herbert and all these guys that come in that are great. How the hell do we keep missing out? Everyone's dancing around the damn Jets. Every single quarterback. And then even in the lower rounds, the Dak Prescott, Russell Wilson, we miss those guys too. We miss every damn quarterback that's in the market. And so I just don't want to get into a position where we're like the number 12th pick next year, right? And we got to try to figure out who that guy is when we've never done it. Okay? You got the number 2 pick. You had 2 wins last year. Just go ahead and draft Wilson. And everyone's going to say, oh, yeah, I expected the Jets to do that because Wilson is the number 2 rated quarterback behind Trevor Lawrence, and some even put him higher than Trevor Lawrence. That makes sense, doesn't it? Oh, the Jets never had really a franchise quarterback. Oh, they took Wilson, right? No, they took Kyle Pitts, tight end. What? Okay. They took Wilson, right? No,
and the
no.
jokes, then the Jets jokes roll.
They took Sewell. Wait, didn't they draft Becton? Oh no, he's not playing left tackle. He's playing right tackle. What? What are we talking about here? Could we get some common sense if you're going to come on Jets Guru? Seriously, that's nonsense business. If they draft Kyle Pitts at 2 or 8, you're going to see me in the newspaper. Okay? You're going to see me in the newspaper. Because
outside the practice facility.
Because you can't. God is trying to give us a break. Whatever God you believe in, he's trying to give us a break. You know how I know this? Because you have the number 2 pick and $80 million, and your current starting quarterback is the last rated quarterback by QBR, even worse than Mitchell Trubisky. And if you ever watch Mitchell Trubisky play, he sucks.
And on top of that, going with like what you said about God looking out, Sam Darnold is still worth something to people.
Yep.
He's still worth something to people.
And you could get something for him and get a running back or a pass rusher. Cornerbacks do very well. Some positions you could do very well deeper in the draft. Often offensive linemen, mostly because there's like 5 positions, so you could choose from 5, but they're considered offensive line. So you could find guys deeper than you can at skill positions. But it's just absolutely insane to see the writing on the wall and what the Jets honestly need to do. And then you consider the trade market. And like we said before, and I tell people all the time, would you trade Jamal Adams and a first-round pick for Deshaun Watson? And you're like, absolutely. You're like, okay, well, you just got 2 picks from Seattle, and you give him 1 first-rounder, and then some. I was almost cursed there. Some bullcrap stuff, and then you get your franchise quarterback. And you know how these guys are, man. They play they're 100 years old, and then Deshaun is there until I'm an old man, and I'm like 60 years old, and Deshaun's just getting ready to retire, and I'm feeling good, baby. Because I know if we have Deshaun Watson at some point, I promise you, if we have Deshaun Watson, we are playing in some kind of a big game where I could bring out all my talismans and all my relics and stuff like that and set them up and really start to influence the game through my TV set. So, but we can't bust any of those things out because I'm not busting out my magic talismans and all this stuff for this product that we're watching out here. That I have years and years of juiced material, right, of special moments and missed field goals that I've collected power from through the TV screen. And I'm not bringing those out for what I'm seeing in front of the Jets right now. That's playoff juice, baby. And so I hear them, right? I hear them. They're sitting over here. And the relics are kind of shaking. It's been a long time since they got to see any action, and they're waiting to bust out here and win some games. But the Jets got to do better, and they got to get there. And so, we'll see what happens. I'm going to be there every step of the way. We got some new cool stuff that's going to be happening in the Jets world that I'm going to be unleashing pretty soon. We're losing viewers because the Jet fans suck. But listen, I'll be doing some research on some of these other people too. So I go on their pages to see how their streams are going, and they're losing people too, right? So we got to bring them back in. It's still early. It happens every year. Everybody starts fading out, and then right around the draft, people start coming back. And so, listen, don't desert me. I'm out here by myself preaching the Jets gospel, and y'all only want to come when it's good for you, when you want your prayers answered, So you need to be here on the daily so we could grow together. So, listen, I appreciate all the support. And what about 23? We're taking Najee Harris if he's available. Mark it down. I called it right now. So with that being said, I'm going to go jump on some video games and hang out with the boys for tonight. You guys enjoy yourself. I'm going to be writing some articles probably next week. Check it out. Please share. I love all the enthusiasm. We got the regulars in usually. Let's start talking about me on your spare time too. That's an order. You know what I mean? Go out there and start talking about the Jets Guru, man. Start spreading the love. I want to give stuff away too. I got Jet stuff that I want to give away. Every time I do a giveaway, you guys don't participate. It's like cool stuff, like vintage Jet stuff. I'm like, hey, all you got to do is share the page, tag your boy. They're like, all right, we got you, Guru. I'm looking around. I'm like, damn, my mom, my wife shared it. Let's keep it going, man, before I get too famous and I don't talk to none of you people anymore. So let's So I'm gonna be 70 years old, still doing live streams. It's like he never made it, man. He just never made it. so I'm gonna try my best to get there. Because I'm gonna represent us. I'm not gonna come with that bull jive, talking that nonsense. We get some players up in here. We're gonna ask him some good questions. You know what I mean? Mike, we did have the phone line. Speak to JR. That's not my business. We got a producer now. JR, come out here and explain yourself to why we don't have the phone line anymore.
Oh, you're silent.
I see. I see.
Hey, we had the phone line, but nobody was calling in, so I had to pay for that. So I was like, you know what? So.
We try to do nice things for you people, and then you come on, man. You got to reciprocate. So maybe we'll try the phone line maybe soon one more time, and if we can get some calls, it's worth it. But listen, my boy JR is putting money out there. We're putting our time out there, and stuff like that. And so let's get some reciprocation so we can get some value out of the stuff that we got. So listen, I appreciate the support from you guys. Please share. Please keep your head up. Please be safe out there. Watch your six, because there's some straight weirdos out there. Enjoy your life. Be safe. Love you guys. JETS, Jets. Peace.
Go Jets.
All I hear, go get the money. So I go get it. Hate means I do something right. So I'ma let him. Yeah, I'ma let him. Yeah.